Hey everyone, and welcome back to the stream. We've got our 2025 CPT books out. That means that since the ICD10 CM, the ICD10 PCS, and CPTs are out, that only leaves HCPCS books for 2025. Those are still outstanding. Who knows when we're going to get them? Usually it's December. I've seen sometimes it leak into January. I'm not sure what's been updated yet for HCPCS for 2025. I haven't heard any huge buzz, so I'm sure it's nothing earth-shattering, but always interested to see what new HCPCS codes might be coming up. The AHIMA 2025 conference, it looks like, is underway. Obviously, I'm not there. I don't have any conferences planned until Healthcon 2025, which we actually just got the agenda released for today. I personally don't apply for all of the conferences. I I don't wanna say I don't want to speak at every conference, but I don't think it's appropriate to have the same speaker at every single conference, so I don't apply for all of them. I just apply here and there, and I really, really just wanted to enjoy HealthCon 2025 at beautiful Orlando, Florida. So I'm like, "You know what? I'm not gonna even offer to speak this time unless, someone drops and maybe they're, like, desperate and they're like, 'Hey, Victoria, can you fill in?' Maybe then." But I really just wanna enjoy the conference. But, the schedule is looking really, really good, and I'm excited for that. If you guys haven't seen it, let me pull it up for you guys. Present, screen share. Hold on one second. Let me just do here we go. Alright. So we have HealthCon 2025 agenda is out. I'm excited for this. It looks like there's a lot of speakers. There's some surprises on there. Some some people that let me see if I can move me into my there we go. So there's some people on here that I was surprised to see on, and then some people that I'm like, "Oh, I'm not at all surprised." If you're not aware about HealthCon, they don't advertise this as heavily, but if you're an AAPC approved instructor, they have a Teach the Teacher there, which if you are someone who's a certified instructor, you should try to get to. Um, you don't have to though. So what it does though is it highlights like where are people having specific issues with CPC exams, what kind of missed topics there are, how to better teach your students. One of the interesting things about being an AAPC approved instructor is that you have to get continuing teaching units, but they don't really like have to be approved teaching units. So a lot of people think they have to go to teach the teacher and you really don't. You just have to prove that you did something that's related to like teaching or the business of teaching. So sometimes I would get like audiobooks or workshops online for cheap and just count each hour towards one continuing teaching unit. Um, so teach the teachers coming up, pre-conference stuff. I I don't know what day I'm coming in for conference, but I'm probably gonna be there for a few days afterwards. If you're a chapter officer for 2025, they have a breakfast there as well. I always love this presentation that Lisa Israel does about how to become a thought leader in the AAPC. So, like all the different opportunities that are available to you to become a subject matter expert and publish blogs or publish in the newsletter or, provide feedback or tips. Or like, there's a lot of little like hidden gem type opportunities that once you start getting involved, they'll start throwing at you, which is like super, super cool. But yeah, so really excited for HealthCon Orlando. I'm curious about some of these sessions that they have listed here that say TBA, and then it's just public speaking. So I'm not sure if they just haven't filled this in yet, like if they know who's doing this, or if they're just like, we have this topic and someone needs to do it, and we'll figure out who that someone is at a later time. But I think I did see something in here that was like a meet and greet with the NAB and the CAB, which is cool because they're going to be changing a lot of those roles next year. The entire National Advisory Board changes, and I think several people are coming off the chapter association board and then new people coming on. So that'll be a good one to keep an eye on. But yeah, I feel like I feel like I know this person, but maybe not. I can't remember. I feel like I met this guy once, but I can't remember if I'm thinking of the right person. But yeah, I saw a lot of great people on here. Rita's obviously speaking again because it's Rita. When is she not speaking at conference? Colleen's awesome. Chris Chandler, he's good. Um, Stephanie Schrogan, she's currently on the NAB. Pam is wonderful. Rhonda's wonderful. Stephanie. There's a couple of names that I was expecting to see and didn't on the list for HealthCon 2025. This one I think is gonna be an interesting topic. What happened to my day? Have you ever wondered how you got to the end of your day and feel like you accomplished nothing? That is like 80% of my days. I don't know about you guys. That is like 80% of mine. Mike Misko is a great speaker. He's another Pennsylvania native. He's on the opposite side of the state of me, if you're not familiar with Pennsylvania. Like, people think that Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are, like, close to each other, and they're not. They're, oh my god, like, I think 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours apart. It's a huge, huge distance. So Mike and I are on opposite sides of the state, but he is a Pennsylvania native, so we've spoken at, I think, a couple of PA things together. Stacy's gonna be there, and I like that Jacob and Rhonda are gonna be presenting together, and then I think I saw Keisha's gonna be there, she's awesome. Jordan Johnson, that's gonna be interesting. And then Michelle Stevens, Shannon DeConda, love Shannon, she's gonna be there, and I saw Stephanie, I think, is gonna be presenting somewhere down here too. So I'm excited to see Stephanie there because I'm gonna miss them at the NAMUS conference this year because I'm not heading down to Chattanooga. Yeah, Stephanie Allard, she's amazing. She's the bestest. Da-da-da-da. But yeah, I'm really excited to check out some of these presentations that we got coming on for 2025. And I'm actually heading down to Disney shortly, a few more weeks, and then I'm gonna be, doing some planning for what activities we're gonna be doing at Disney for HealthCon 2020. So, yeah, let's get into some of these questions that are coming up. Um, I know I saw one about AI, and I wanna address that one first. Where is it? Oh, did I accidentally where did I go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Uh-oh. Oh, do you think that medical coding is gonna be replaced by AI? I think any job that involves computers has a risk of being replaced by AI. We could say that probably any job where you're sitting at a desk all day could be replaced by AI. You know, people like to say that out there, "Oh, you're gonna get replaced by AI." Um, you know, graphic illustrators can get replaced by AI because we can have just generative photos. People who create recipes right now, I don't know. Oh my I don't know about y'all's Facebook feeds. My Facebook feed right now is flooded with fake recipes that people are using to generate AI. What they're doing is they're going into ChatGPT and they're like, "Hey, ChatGPT, make me, 10 recipes that are involve using a lot of chocolate." And then ChatGPT will make up all these fake recipes, and then they have them generate, like, a picture of it based off of the recipe, and then they just post them on Facebook, and people go on Facebook and they're like, "Oh my god, look at this wonderful chocolate recipe. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna tag my friends and be like, 'Oh my god, we should make it.'" And no one's actually gonna make that. But they basically are just pushing out all of this fake Facebook needs to do something about it because people aren't catching it, and I can pick it up because I'm familiar with how AI puts stuff together, but other people are just, like, sharing all of this garbage fake recipes on their Facebook pages, and it's insane. They're not real. Um but in any case, do I think medical coding is gonna be replaced by AI? No. I think almost every job out there is going to be changed by AI, is gonna be enhanced by AI, is going to be sped up by AI, but medical coding will not be replaced by AI. It will be enhanced, it will be sped up, it will become more artful, almost in a way, more thought-provoking. But yeah, definitely not replaced by AI. Could I find jobs easily? If you are looking for a job to find easily, medical coding is not the one. And I'm not saying that to be mean or negative or saying you can't do it, but medical coding takes 6 to 9 months at least of training. It takes certifications, and there are a lot of other people that are getting certifications as well. And it's a competitive job market, I'll say that. So, if you're getting into medical coding, it's definitely gotta be because this is a career that you're interested in and that you love, not because you're looking for a job really, really fast. If you wanna have a career where you're kind of guaranteed a job after graduation, I would really suggest going into something more so on the clinical end. So, if you wanna go into nursing or some kind of patient care position, rad tech, something like that, those are the positions where you're more likely to find a job when you're finished. Medical coding is not one where you can easily find a job after just quick getting a certification. Jennifer is asking, do we know what the statistics look like for students passing their CPC on the first try? Also, is there an ethical amount of coding cases per hour? I noticed they can be broad among different specialties. Yeah. So as far as um, productivity hours, those are gonna vary so much based off of the type of coding you're doing, the specialty you're working in, the efficiency of the record systems that you're working with. Are providers doing, like, estimated code selections, or are they not? So, I really cannot provide you how many cases there are because there's so many different factors. I can't say, "Yes, it's gonna be 10, it's gonna be 20, it's gonna be 5 to 10," there's really not a fair assessment of that. I know AHEMA, I think, has published some articles based off of their data, but that's probably more so for inpatient coding since they tend to deal more with inpatient side end of things. I need a haircut. I need a haircut. This last bit of pink in my hair is, like, hanging the heck out, so I'm torn between just, like, trying to flush it all back to blonde or just go into a different color. My daughter wants me to go to purple. And I know there was another part of that. What was it? Oh, the statistics of how many people pass the CPC exam. I think the AAPC does publish that. I know it's on the website somewhere, but there's a ton of information on the website. Let's see if I can find it. I know years ago it used to be kind of 50-50. Let's see if I can find it. The overall. I know they publish a lot of data on like if you go through our curriculum versus this, you'll have a better chance. So let me show you what I got here. Okay. So they do say that if you use the AAPC curriculum, it's about 80% exam pass rate, far above the national average of 27%. So I don't know, I don't feel like 27% seems right, but I don't think it's that low as, I think it's usually more like a 50-50 split. Karen asks, "Is it possible to get a job with inpatient coding with just a CPC?" Possible, yes, likely no. So if we look at what the CPC curriculum covers, it actually covers ICD-10 CM, CPT, and HCPCS. Inpatient coding involves ICD-10 PCS, which is nothing even similar to any of those systems. It involves, a lot of different factors, a lot of different coding methodologies. It involves facility coding, billing on the UB04. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say in a way it's like going from mechanical engineering to software engineering, kind of. Um, So the CPC doesn't train on one of the code sets that you would need for an inpatient facility coding position. Should I start with a CCA or can I begin my career with a CCS? I plan to use a HEMAS curriculum to prepare but have no prior coding experience. Personally, and this is not legal advice, this is not career advice, but personally, my thoughts are I don't understand why people are still going for the CCA unless they literally have a free voucher for it. Because when we look at the CCA, and I'm actually about to do a short on this, if we look at the CCA versus the CCS, neither of them have a requirement other than a high school graduation. They have recommendations. We recommend this for this and this for that. But the only hard and fast requirement is that high school graduation, high school diploma. CCA, they're like, "It's probably good that you have X amount of training." CCS, they're like, "You should have X amount of training, like a little bit higher up or some years of experience." You could really just study more and go for the CCS. There's nothing holding you back from doing that. And if your plan is to get the CCS eventually anyway, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to put an extra hurdle in there between you and that end goal. Jesmarie asks, "I'm 52 in retail management and about to take my CPC exam. Do you think Practicode will help me get a job faster?" So, the whole thing with Practicode is what Practicode really is good for is just removing that apprenticeship. It doesn't count for job experience under the eyes of employers. So, there are certain positions that recruiters will post, and some of these recruiters that are working for these large healthcare institutions, they don't know all the ins and outs and details of every single medical certification out there, right? They're just handed a piece of paper that says, "Hey, we're hiring for a coder. Don't take any CPC apprentices." So if they see CPCA on there, they just, might go, "Okay, well, I'm not supposed to hire those," and set them to the side. So in those cases where they're specifically like, "Okay, the CPCAs, they have to go over here in the trash and I can only hire CPCs," you'll be a better candidate for those. But as far as ones where they're like hard and fast, like we need to have X amount of job experience, not quite as helpful because they don't count the Practicode as job experience. I've been hearing more and more from the AAPC that they're trying to get rid of that apprenticeship status and not have it to begin with. I think it's funny that we have one for CPCs and COCs, but literally no other certifications. There's not one for practice management. There's not one for risk adjustment or any other of the coding certifications, just the CPC and COC. So I imagine it's a hard thing to navigate. Excuse me. Getting rid of the apprenticeship status, because what do we do with the people who are, like, currently in process of it? How do we handle there's gonna be a ton of people complaining no matter what amazing decisions that they make. There's always gonna be people complaining, "Well, why did I have to go through Practicum? Well, I want a refund for mine," and blah, 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 it's gonna be a big backfire, so trying to get trying to get through all that's gonna be a lot. I think they're trying to do it and trying to figure out probably the most fair and just ways to execute removing the apprenticeship status. And also that employers are gonna accept it too. That's a whole other piece of the puzzle. Zade says, "How much medical coders are earning in the US? Is it possible to come over there and get a job?" Medical coders starting out, oh gosh. I would go into Google, check the AAPC salary survey. I also have one that you can check on my page about the salary information. As far as is it possible to come over here and find a job? Probably not. There's lots of domestic coders as it is. So, I don't think they really need to look to have people come over from other countries in order to facilitate medical coding, especially if you don't have experience. If you're someone who maybe was very experienced in medical coding years and years, you might have a better shot, but I don't think currently that's something that I would recommend doing. But yeah, as far as salary information, I have some videos on the channel here. So this one's the results from the 2024 AAPC salary survey. And I think we just finished up the most recent one that all the questions not too long ago, very recently. Mallory, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's going good so far with the marriage. We just got married, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? Wonderful, beautiful October day in the Poconos. Couldn't have anticipated it to be any better. It was wonderful. And I have this cool new last name. Now I just need to go through the process of changing my name on driver's license, passport, business records, trademark office, all of my social media, the mortgage company, all of the bills. It's just that's gonna be the hard thing. But yeah, we've been together. We got married on our 10-year anniversary, so it was great. Very exciting. Do you think companies would hire CPC coders with only 6 months of billings experience? Probably not. Um, well, it depends. If you're saying CPC coders, meaning someone who is certified as a CPC and only has 6 months of billing experience, possibly. If you're talking about someone who wants to be in a CPC position but does not have their CPC, only they have 6 months of billing experience, not as likely. It's really that certification that they're looking for a lot of the medical billing and coding programs. I did see one question here about Preppy that I wanted to answer. Oh, Mallory's asking, do you teach through Preppy? I do not teach any medical coding 101 courses. I have personal goals for myself to stay kind of small scale and not stress myself out. I am not someone I am not someone who can task toggle a lot. So if you were to ask me to manage hundreds of students, which is literally I think what I'm sending to Preppy every month, hundreds of students, um, I would have a nervous breakdown and die. I would not be able to facilitate that. I would not perform the way you guys need me to. I mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually cannot do it. Um, but I do work with Preppy to make sure that everything is aligned as it should be or to the best that it can be. There's maybe one little thing that I've been kind of knocking on them to fix, and I understand why they do it, but it is what it is. Anyway, but I work with them and I give all of my viewer feedback to them as far as how things are going with their courses, um, things that the students need, but I personally do not teach any medical billing 101 type courses. I do a couple of CEU stuff, and mostly YouTube stuff and my contract work in medical coding. But if you are someone who is interested in finding out more about a career in medical billing and coding, you can head over and find out more about Preppy, which is the program that I recommend and that I work with. I send my viewers over there. They take the best care of them. There's a free career masterclass you can sign up for. It teaches about a career in medical billing. It doesn't teach you medical billing and coding. It's not going to teach you ICD-10 CM and CPT, but it tells you about like what certifications you want to get, what the job outlook is. Like if you're just like, tell me like, here I need to know this, 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 and this, and what do I do? Like that's where you go is to medicalcodingmasterclass.com and you can find out more about the career in medical billing and coding. You can find out more about Preppy there. Um, saw a question here from Wendy. I don't know if all of the questions are coming through. I have slow chat on, so you can't comment more than every like minute. Otherwise, people come in and just start spamming the chat. But I think what Wendy's asking possibly is Can you get a medical coding job without experience, or do you need a certification? Medical coding, positions, they want you to have training, they want you to have a medical coding certification. It is unlikely to find a medical coding job when you don't have any kind of experience or certification. They're not generally willing to train because we have so many people that already know medical billing and coding or are already certified or that they can pull from other positions in revenue cycle and train that already have a good baseline. Most organizations aren't looking to hire people and just train them from the ground up in medical coding. So you do need a certification and some training. S-Base asking, what is the difference between CPC and CCS? So a CPC is a certified professional fee coder, and professional fee coding is coding for services that are rendered by physicians, CRNPs, like people, provider people, their reimbursement. So that reimbursement is going to a specific healthcare provider. So it's for the surgeon doing surgery. It's for your family doctor doing their annual physical. It's for an X-ray that an X-ray tech did. It's going to something more so like that. Versus a CCS is for inpatient facility billing. So that's almost like your room and board at the hospital. It's the fees for the hospital resort, if you kind of think of it that way, like your resort fee, your room and board, the nurses coming in and fluffing your pillow and doing your cath and all that. And that facility billing uses different codes than the pro fee billing. So pro fee billing, if you think of it kind of more like the money's going to the doctor versus the money's going to the hospital building. So for CPC, you bill codes in ICD10 CM, in CPT, and HCPCS. And for the CCS, you have to know ICD10 PCS, which is a totally different coding system. So in the CPC, they don't train PCS. For the CCS, they have to train you in PCS. So it's two different types of coding. As far as which one pays more, I'll tell you a lot more people are having, I don't want to say a better time finding jobs, but there's a higher need, I think, for inpatient coding, but it is more skilled work. It is more involved work, and a lot of places wanna hire people that maybe have, like, an RHITE even. So yeah, definitely 2 different things. Hey, Victoria, have you heard of coders receiving sign-on bonuses? It's funny you should mention that. I was saying something about medical coding job scams. There's been a lot of job scams coming up lately. People saying like, "Oh, I saw this post on LinkedIn and it looked like it was from an official person. It was for a company that exists and they were legitimate, but like someone I guess kind of made a fake account for a recruiter or and was interviewing people and like making them buy equipment and being like, "Oh, we'll reimburse you for this equipment." So there's a lot of job scams going on. So I was posting something about that. And I had someone reach out and say that they are seeing people who are offering big sign-on bonuses for coders and then not paying them out. So, have I heard of coders receiving sign-on bonuses? Yes, but now I'm also hearing that there is apparently something going on with people not getting those bonuses. So that person was kind enough to reach out and might be collaborating with me to kind of find out what exactly is going on there so I can share that with my audience. So hopefully if there is something to avoid or to look out for or to be cautious of, I can get you guys some more information on that. Yeah, as far as medical billing and coding jobs in India, if they don't need a certification, yeah, but you're probably not going to make much money. You're definitely not gonna make what a US coder makes. The question here, excuse the question, until what date can I take the 2024 CPC exam with the 2024 books? You can take them with the 2024 books up until the end of 2025. So CPC exam changes every calendar year. So the Any new 2025 code changes will be in effect for the exam starting January 1. But you can still use your 2024 books through the end of 2025. You're allowed to use current calendar year or 1 calendar year prior. It can't be any further than that. And let me pull that up actually on the AAPC website. So if we look here on the website, what it says is, what year's book should I use? Since the code sets for each coding book are updated every year, it's essential for coders to have the current year's books or manuals to ensure accurate performance. Reporting wrong codes can lead to denied claims. Blah, blah, blah. All AAPC exams are based on the current calendar year's code sets. It's strongly suggested you use the current calendar year's books. Exams are updated every January for the new code sets. You may utilize books from the preceding year, the current year, or a combination of both. However, only one copy of each book is allowed. I'm glad that they clarified that. I didn't even think about that. Books older than 1 year are not allowed for the exam, and upcoming year's books are not allowed for the exam, which is important because I actually have my 2025 CPT book already here. I've already got my 2025 ICD10 CM book and PCS book. Um, so if I were to take these into the CPC exam tomorrow, I would get turned away because they would say, well, I might not get turned away, but they'd say, hey, you can't use these books for the exam because you're not allowed to use the next calendar year. So if you're taking an exam in 2024, it's really recommended you use your 2024 books. You can still use 2023. If you're taking your book in 2025, it's recommended you use the 2025 books. You can still use 2024. So that's all that. Um, on the topic of books, let's see if they have it on here. New revised, allowed reference materials. I'm surprised they don't link right under there, like, what are you allowed to write in your book? Because that's usually the next question. Let's see what it says here on the allowed materials. It's thinking. Okay. Live remote proctor. Excuse me. They change stuff so much anymore that I'm always afraid that, like, it's linking even on the website to something that's quite not quite up to date. But I'm curious if they have on here about, what you are allowed to write in your books. Let's see here. You can't bring writing utensils, you're not allowed to bring a whiteboard anymore, you can't bring headphones. Let's see if it says it on here. Oh, look at that. I love that the screenshot here actually looks a little bit like the exam, but they put one from the CIC, so it has the fill in the blanks. Do not use. Mhm. Yeah, I guess it doesn't actually say in here about what you're not supposed to write into your book, but basically what you're not allowed to write in your book is study guide questions you can't write in your book, you can't write practice exam questions, you can't write long paragraphs of text from a study guide into your book. Like, you can write little daily coding notes, you can highlight, you can circle, you can bubble if you want, but you can't write questions in your book type stuff. Can we learn medical coding by own? You can. It's not super recommended, but I do actually have videos on all the tools that I recommend for it. So if you're interested in that, you can head over to Contempo Coding on YouTube, and I have this is the most updated one, How to Self-Study Medical Coding in 2024. You can learn medical coding by your own. That does not mean you can do it for free, and that does not mean you can do it for cheap. Just like you can't learn how to repair a car without having tools and a car to work on. Same thing with medical coding. You need to have the right tools. You need to have something to work on. You have to have something to teach you. So, you need medical coding books in order to learn it on your own. That's just these are your equivalent to the tools of for the mechanic. So you need for the CPC exam, there's 3 different books. Those are usually $250. The textbooks that you need that will teach you how to use these tools is around $150. Um, that would be the minimum. You can't really get a medical coding job without a certification, so membership to the AAPC, I think, is $210 a year now, and you have to be a member in order to sit for the certification exam. The certification exam for 1 attempt, I believe, is now $400, so you can learn it by your own. It's not easy, it's not cheap. Oftentimes, people try to do it, and then they wind up going to a program anyway, so sometimes depending on their program, then they ship them extras of books or they have materials that they've already got. That's why I kind of recommend that if you're looking to get into medical coding as a career, you just go over to the free career masterclass at medicalcodingmasterclass.com, and it will tell you about the program that will help you and provide all of those resources for you, like tutoring, like structured course materials, ebooks, and it will give you all of that. And you won't have to worry about investing all the time trying to self study, and then you lose motivation and wind up not being successful at it. I wish, what, there was a time that I might have, but not anymore. Have you seen how much they're charging for CEUs for vendors anymore? It's like I think 300 and change just for one CEU. Crazy. Sunny says, I have CPC and CCS certification. I have 2 years of HCC coding experience. I want to prepare for the CRC. Will study guide and practice exams be good enough to pass, or do I need any additional course? Depends on how confident you are in your ICD-10 CM knowledge. If you have 2 years of HCC coding experience, and you want to prepare for the CRC, study guide and practice exam would probably be good. A lot of the stuff, I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of the stuff in the full curriculum of the CRC that's provided by the AAPC is basically a duplicate. It's like a couple of slides changed for the first few courses, because what they do is cover, I think they still cover the business of medicine, a med term review, intro to ICD-10 CM, and then the different chapters, which is basically the same as what's in the CPC. So I actually have a course that kind of cuts that out and then goes into the stuff that you would see on like the CRC exam or on the RAC exam through HEMA. So if you're interested in that, it's on my website right now. I can show you. So if you go to contempocoding.com, here is the risk adjustment. I call it a companion course because it's not a full course. It's a little more than a review though. So that's on sale for $200 if that's anything you're interested in. I still have to get CEUs applied for that one. I have to work on that. But yeah, that's all on demand. Great information for anyone who's looking to take the CRC exam and's like, I don't even know how much they're charging for the full certification course for that now. 1,500, 2,000, something like that. And Amika asks, I'm giving my CRC in February. Will I be able to use my 2024 ICD-10 CM book? Yes, you can. You can use your 2024 book throughout all of 2024 and through 2025. You can't use it anywhere past that, though. Now, there are going to be some code changes. If you want, I have a video on all of those code changes. Let's see if I got it here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so I have a video on the 2025 updates. So if you want to go through your 2024 book and like write in whatever's changed, you can do that. Or if you have even a good encoder tool, like if you have Codify, Select Coder, I'm not sure if iCoder has it. What's the other one that I think does? iCoder, Select Coder. But in any case, a lot of the encoders have a list of all the updated ICD-10 CM codes for every year, so you could even go through that and kinda check through and update your book. I think I wanna say it was 700 some 291 new codes, so not even a lot, and a lot of them were, like looked like a lot because of the different character extensions and right lefts and then anatomical locations and stuff on them. Does it matter if you get your training through AAPC or going through a school program? No. Um, a lot of schools license the same material that the AAPC will teach you through their program, and oop, and there's not like a requirements with any of the AAPC certifications like the CPC, they don't require, "Oh, I have to go through this program," or, "It has to be an accredited," or, "It has to be an AAPC approved." The requirement to sit for the CPC exam is literally you pay for the CPC exam. So, obviously, some programs are better as far as preparing you for the exam, but there's no, like, official one you have to go through. Statistically, the AAPC says those that go through the official AAPC curriculum have done better with passing the exam. Um, and that doesn't necessarily even mean that you buy it from aapc.com. You could get it through an approved instructor or someone like that. But yeah, you don't have to go through a certain program. If you get one from like your community college and they're like, "Hey, we've got a grant and we can put you through training for free," go for it. Let's see. I'm scrolling back because Shani says I missed a question. I completed medical billing and coding back in 2021, but I never sat for the exam. How can I get a refresher without taking this course over again so that I can sit for the exam? The biggest changes are going to be to evaluation and management. The process of medical coding since 2021 has not changed. What I would recommend you do is go to the AAPC website. If you're going to sit for the CPC exam. I'm assuming it's the CPC exam. Could be different if it's the CCS. But if you're planning to go for your CPC certification, get your membership with the AAPC active again, because that's the only way you're going to be able to purchase the exam. And you can find different review classes that are going through the local chapters that are virtual. Some of them are only like 50 bucks, and that's a review for the exam. The other thing I would recommend is you could do, I think they have one on demand. I feel like they should just list the chapter ones here. I have different thoughts about how they should be hosting these reviews versus the way it's getting done. But in any case, let's see, training and events CPC. They, I think, have a practice. Yeah, CPC exam review on their website, and you can purchase that. What I would recommend is if they have a bundle with the practice exams, get that. So here, exam review. Mm, yeah, this would be a good one for you. So it's gonna include the exam fee. The exam fee is like if you wanna do 1 attempt, that's $400 right there. Exam review, a study guide, and 3 practice exams. So that's what I would personally recommend. You have to be a member though to take the CPC exam, so that has to get added on too. So yeah. Um, if you don't wanna go quite that extensive, you could just purchase one of the practice exam bundles and see how you do, and if you're doing really, really well, then, maybe you're like, "I don't know, I'm feeling pretty confident, maybe I can take the exam." If not, maybe you can at least evaluate like, "Oh, I'm not doing so well in this area, let me pull out my old study materials and see what I can strengthen there." Will there be a lot of communications that need to be done while working? Can someone with a speech impediment still do the job? I think absolutely. I would say 95% of the communication is done electronically. So emails, chats. Occasionally you might have to pop onto a Zoom call depending on your organization. They might have like a monthly meeting. That doesn't mean you have to, give a presentation. Obviously, there are positions out there that would require more speaking. So, working with physicians or doing education or auditing, that might be something that would have more speech involved in it. But if you don't want to go through that pathway, you don't have to. Do I have to be an AAPC member in order to sit for the exam? Yes. Anyone that wants to sit for any AAPC exam not only has to pay for the membership fee, but you have to pay for that annually. So it's not like a one and done, like, oh, I'll just pay for the membership fee, take my certification, and then I'll drop it and keep my certification forever. It doesn't work that way. So what happens is you have to pay that 200. It's currently $210. It goes up a little bit usually every year. Um, if you don't pay that annual membership due, you wind up losing your credential. So if you get your CPC and then after a year you're like, "I'm not gonna renew my membership," you lose your CPC. I just finished a bachelor's degree in healthcare compliance and regulations. I'm thinking of getting the CPC. Do you think it complements my bachelor's? I think so. I mean, there's a good chunk of compliance and regulations that involves medical coding, right? And especially if you're doing any kind of audit activity or handling some of those plethora of audits that are coming in and even verifying things like some of the quality reporting. I think that that would definitely be helpful having a CPC. Cody says, I've been doing the AAPC program for a little while now, and I'm almost halfway through. I feel very good about ICD codes, but seems to struggle with CPT codes. Any tips? Yeah, I struggle with CPT more than ICD-10 too. I really like the diagnosis coding and not so much CPT. I I could say a lot of things about the AMA, and I do when I'm not being live streamed. um, but my advice as far as CPT coding, practice, practice, practice. Go through all those different guidelines. Like if you're looking at a CPT code, go back to the instructions there as far as excuse me. Go back and look at those instructions and really read through them because some of them they're like very meticulous and you can easily miss little pieces. Or if you read it quickly, you think it means one thing, and then as you read it through and take it kind of literally, you're like, oh no, I see what they mean. So sometimes you trick yourself because you think, oh, there's no way that they could actually mean that. Like obviously they mean this, but they do. So it really is a practice. I would say if you're going through a program, did you say the AAPC program? Yeah. So if you're going through the AAPC program, make sure you're going through all that practice material. I know sometimes in the textbooks they'll have like the little, practice questions at the end of the section or section reviews. Go through those, don't skip that. Practice is the only way that you're gonna really understand, and especially if they have that rationale for you. Go through those rationales and pinpoint where exactly you might be not understanding certain components. I'm having difficulties to find CPT codes. Okay, so let me actually, because I don't want to rip open my 2025 book yet, because then I'm basically going to start. It's going to look like the ending of Edward Scissorhands, over in here, because it's going to start snowing all over the place. Let me grab my CPT book real quick so I can show you guys. I do have like a "I'll be right back" message that I can use, but not when I'm going to be only gone for 20 seconds. Okay. So here's the thing. that's different with ICD-10 CM and CPT, right? With ICD-10 CM, we have very specific lookup instructions. You have to look at the alphabetic index, go over to the tabular, verify everything in the tabular, and make sure that it's the correct code. You know what the instructions are for lookup in CPT? There technically aren't any. You don't have to start in the CPT index, which a lot of people think that you do. So here's me. Here's my. That's not what I want. Let's get that. No, that's okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this where I want situated. No, why is that come on? Okay, well, this is good enough. Anyway, so with CPT, the lookup is different. Everyone thinks like, oh, you got to start in your index and you got to look up. Yeah, you actually don't. So let's say I'm looking for like a GI code, something that's maybe some kind of procedure that is like an incision into the stomach, right? Well, where am I going to go? I need to go to my stomach section, right? So here we are, integumentary respiratory. Digestive, right? And then I go to my table of contents and I'm like, okay, where's my section for the stomach? Zoom you guys in here. Hold on. Okay. Here is my stomach section. So if I'm coding a procedure and it's an incision into the stomach, I'm just going to stomach, incision, and then I turned it to page 352 and can find the code there. So if you're struggling, just and you're coding a procedure and it's in, it's a certain section, it's something that's a skin procedure, it's a lung procedure, you can just go right to the respiratory section and look at the table of contents. You don't have to look it up in the index. And people who are more so surgical coders tend to do that. Why is this respiratory tab? Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, if I'm looking for a procedure that's like a removal of a lobe of the lung, I would just go to my lung section and then start going to, I'm like, okay, it's probably either under excision or removal and just go to those pages there. So you don't have to start in the index if you can figure out anatomically what you're looking at and go to that section and then figure out, okay, next, is it an incision, excision, is it a destruction, is it a repair? Like, what are we doing to it? You can just code it that way. You don't have to start in the index. So some people find that a little bit easier than that. Any tips on how to interpret surgery reports? They always say not to code from that procedure list at the top, but that is a good jumping off point. Oftentimes, I'll code from those and then kind of as I'm going through the body of the text, be like, okay, is what they said they did here the same as what they wrote down in here? Or is there something slightly different? Is there something changed? Is there something additional or is it like totally different? But I find that most of the time it's a good jumping off point. And you really need to look for kind of like those key terms. What are we doing? Are we excising? Are we repairing? Are we suture? Like what are we doing to whatever it is we're doing? Kind of look for those key terms there. And you have to practice through. And as you kind of go through them, you'll start after a while picking up like, okay, this doesn't really count for any of the codes and so forth. What is the best way to decide if medical coding is for you? I have been in the food industry forever, and I am trying to decide what I wanna be when I grow up. I am 42 years old. Oh, okay, yeah, no, I totally get that. I totally get that. I do have, I think, some, like, "Is medical coding right for me?" videos, and they talk a little bit about where did my I had my channel right here. Boop, boop, boop. We're going back. Okay, maybe not. But yeah, I have some videos that kind of talk about what medical coding entails and how you can tell from like a skill set aspect if it's right for you. If you're someone who really likes watching medical dramas, but you're like, I don't really want to deal with patients, but I love all of these different pieces of things together and I love finding out about them. Sometimes that's a good indicator. Um, People will sometimes get into medical coding because 'cause they're just like, "I just wanna work from home and not be bothered," which is what I got into it originally for, and then wound up not going into that direction at all, like, I wound up loving working in the office and all of that. Um, but I do have some videos that I think are kind of helpful in that decision-making process. See if I can find it here. Ha 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 ha. That's the one. Add to stage. There we go. We're removing you. There we go. Is medical coding right for me in 2024? That kind of helps give a good picture of what it's like. You could also sign up for that free career masterclass that I mentioned over at medicalcodingmasterclass.com because that'll go through a lot of the same information too, like salary expectations, what the job market look like, what certifications do you need. And as much as I wish I could tell everyone, like, oh, yeah, you can learn medical coding in a short amount of time and you'll definitely find a job and everything's going to be great. And they'll let you watch your kids while you're working from home and all that. There's definitely a lot more to it than that. There's continuing education is a big component of it. So, for example, every medical coder has to get a certain amount of continuing education credits every year. There's a lot of free opportunities out there, so you can really go through if you're good at keeping up with it and not have to pay a dime for CEUs, but you do have to pay for membership. You have to make sure that you're dedicating time to continuing ed, that you're buying or being supplied books every year, all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. What is the future of medical coding if AI intervenes? It already is. It has been for forever. It's going to be the same as any computer-based um, career out there. I mean, you could say that AI is going to take over everything. You could say it's going to take over the restaurant business because we have robots that are going to be able to deliver drinks to people. You could say it's going to take over graphic design, photography, programming. People are having things programmed by AI. People are doing software applications, apps. They're having AI make recipes for them. Like it's we could sit here and panic about every single career out there being taken over by AI. But what we really need to understand is things are going to be enhanced and changed by AI, but not taken over. And medical coding, because of the intricacies, there's a lot of things that will speed up medical coding, that will enhance medical coding. But we have, y'all, we have a lot of healthcare consumption and a lot of issues with healthcare. We have a lot of fraud going on in healthcare that needs to be monitored. And that's not something AI is capable of doing. It's going to be able to do a lot of the simple things, code lookup, estimations of code, code suggestions, but it's not gonna take over the medical coding career. It's not a one-to-one match the way something like maybe transcription would be, or even not even like translation, like translating from English to Spanish. It's not even that straightforward. But yeah, definitely, like Nikki says, gonna make the job a lot easier. There's a course in AI and medical coding at AAPC. What do you think about it? I was not a fan. Um, I'm glad the AAPC offered a free CEU opportunity, but I think it was very clear that that course um, was basically written by AI itself. And yeah, I was not the repetitiveness, the use of the key terms. There's certain words that when I see them, I can tell AI wrote it, like revolutionary, unlocking the secrets of, like, stuff like that, you can tell it was written by ChatGPT. So, if you're not someone who is experienced with that, you might not be able to tell, but I am. So, for me personally, I'm like, "They're pulling one over on me." Like, "Give me something real." I don't wanna sit around and talk to bots all day. I wanna have real conversations with real people and do real things. Um this is a great question. Do you think medical coding will continue to be primarily remote? I read recently that remote opportunities are declining. So I think what we have to contribute to that is, we as a medical coding industry have had a ton of remote jobs for a long period of time. We were one of the first ones that had this huge remote work from home population and used to open up, Cosmopolitan or Family Circle or whatever, and you'd see those stupid ads that they'd put in there that say, "Learn medical billing in 3 months, work from home, you won't have to hire a babysitter or pay for childcare. This is gonna be the greatest thing that ever happened to you. Just sign up for this correspondence course, clip out the coupon and mail it in," or whatever. Um, but then COVID happened, and we saw a lot more people working from home because they kinda had to, right? But now as we're developing and we were several years out from that, we're starting to go, "You know what? I think we might need some more people at the elbows." So I could see where we're starting to go, "Okay, well, now we need people working side by side with physicians, or we need people in the office a little bit more." So I think there is probably a slight decline from that, but I don't see it gonna be like, "Oh, well, everyone's gonna have to go back to the office." A lot of us were working from home even prior to the pandemic. Christine says, "Yeah, she's glad the AI course was free." Me too. It was nice that they offered the opportunity in the CEUs, but, I, uh, I was not a fan. I was not a fan. Julia says, "Hi, Victoria. Thanks for taking the time to create videos and share your experiences. You are welcome. I'm taking my test for the 5th time on Wednesday. Any tips or tricks?" Um, if you're have it was oh my gosh, there's so many aspects to think about with the CPC exam, right? Look at your previous scores, see where the areas are that you did not perform well. Make sure that you're reviewing those in your materials, whether it be the CPC training book or the step-by-step curriculum. Read through your guidelines. Make sure if it's a speed thing that you're familiar with that platform. Go through some of those platform um, tutorials that they have now on the AAPC website. If you haven't bought the practice exams through the AAPC, do those, because it's gonna help not only with your accuracy, but with your speed, because the faster you can feel comfortable with navigating around and going, "Okay, I know I need to click here to skip this question and go to the next one," like, that little bit can really help you out. 2025 exam. Yeah, I haven't heard much about any changes for the 2025 exams other than the code changes. I know they recently changed some of the check-ins with the live remote proctor stuff. But other than the code changes, we haven't heard anything yet about, fill in the blanks coming. We haven't heard anything about ebooks. As soon as we hear anything about ebooks or fill in the blanks or any changes major to the exam, I'll definitely let everyone know. Out of all of the certifications, which one was the easiest for me? I would say probably the CRC because I love ICD-10 CM coding, and there was a good chunk of that was just on ICD-10 CM coding, specifically for some of the particular concepts. So as long as you know these, like, high level concepts, it was a fairly easy exam. Please tell me when we can't use the elimination method, what should we do to save our time for CPT codes when there will be more than 2 or 3 codes? I don't know why you so when you can't use the elimination method, are you talking about if we get fill in the blanks, like if it's no longer multiple choice? Because to date, it's still 100% multiple choice. What should we do to save our time for CPT codes? I would say if you're doing a fill in the blank, um, jot down in your notes section for the exam, type it out. Like, what are the codes? What are the things you're coding for? Select those codes in your book. I would say probably I I'm not a big fan of using the index. I like to just go to that anatomic location or that section in CPT and find the code from there. So, like, if I'm coding, and I know it's like an E&M, I'll go to the E&M section and I'll go to, inpatient, subsequent, and figure out the code from there, versus looking it up in the index. Or if I'm looking for something that's, removal of a lobe of the lung, I'll go to my respiratory section, I'll go to the lung, and I'll look at the excisions and find the code from there. When all the options are different from each other, the other thing you can do is if they're close to each other, just turn to that page and look at them. Um, yeah, I would just take the codes and look them up, if there's nothing that you can really process of elimination do. Anyway, we are at 3:04, so we are done with live stream for today. I will see you guys in the next video. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have other questions that you need me to answer or if you want me to save them for next live stream. I'm not sure if I'm going to be back next week or the week after. Keep an eye out. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.